All right, we are back working on this thing. I know, dude, I got this. I'm gonna show you guys real quick before we get into this thing. And since we're putting the transmission in this video, I'm gonna redocument the miles and the VIN number just for him. I know I did it in the last video, but it was kind of all over the place. So we're gonna do it in the beginning of the video and then pop this bad boy in tonight. But check this out. I got the entire shop, like I'm starting to slowly organize. Those are 2 coolant buckets and then the rest are oil. I need to burn all of that. We've got the scrap full. We're gonna be taking that tomorrow with Josh's truck, so don't miss out on that video. But we have a lot of stuff organized. I've gone through and organized a lot of this shit, cleaning up a lot of the oil spills, trying to get everything as perfect as possible. If anybody needs a spare radiator for $100, I'm getting rid of that too. I'm gonna go through this pile. I've slowly started doing my pile over here. We're gonna clean this section out. I gotta take those home. Exhaust for the Dakota. Bertha's permanent parking spot unless it's time for work, but let's be real, I'm pretty busy in here, so I gotta get this truck done. Now this thing has an extensive list, so this is one of the bigger projects, but we do have a few other trucks. We're waiting on parts for the white truck up on the hill. Peggy, of course, that thing's gonna be going. We got that trailer up there we're gonna try to do some work on before one of you guys buy it. That thing was a $38,000 trailer new, I believe. I can't remember or not if he said if he bought it new, but he's willing to let that thing go for about $15,000. So if one of you guys want to jump on that thing, do it. These I'm gonna clean up a little bit. They are basically going away this weekend. Someone's coming to pick them up, and then this is the parts pile that we're slowly pulling off of this thing, but I'm not throwing any of this stuff away because there is still good stuff in here. But we did get that guy in back there with the new hose. Everything's bolted up and we're slowly working towards everything. Before we get too into it, let me redocument the miles and the door. So miles are 210, 288, and the last 8 of the VIN, if I could find it, 6G191992. So just in case he ever wants to, or he ever has an issue with this trans, because he said he was, I think he said around the 2-year mark into it and had a 5-year warranty. So just as I remember, I don't remember everything 100%. Like there's some things that kind of like, I ain't perfect. I miss things every now and again. He could have said it was 1.5 years, 2.5. Like, it's like, I don't get the information perfect, but it's close enough. My point exactly. So, gonna get everything up here in the engine bay done, get the intake back on, and then we're done in the engine bay. I think we are doing an oil change on this, and then once we get the shocks, he didn't say a lift kit, he actually said leveling kit. I actually misheard that. So we are doing a leveling kit with the shocks and whatnot. Bring the front end up, and other than this line right here, so we're probably gonna end up pulling this hose off right here. You guys will see that'll sit pretty much on the CP3 and then run that. And I have decided that we are just gonna make the bracket. Nobody makes anything remotely good, and this is probably the best spot that we could have put it for maintenance and serviceability. Let's just get to the rest of it. We do have an EGT probe, and then I gotta figure out something with these sensors, because unfortunately when you do that delete, which we will organize and clean it up, but there will be wiring and whatnot down there, so hoping not to set a check engine light. I think I set, no, I did not. I did not take the sensors off yet. So I think this sensor goes on the bottom, so we're gonna plug that one in, and then this sensor is we're not gonna be able to reuse that, but I am gonna have to take it off to unplug it and then tape and seal it up. There's still diesel in there. Basically, I want this whole section done. He's gonna bring me a battery, but besides the battery, I want this whole side section done and fill it up with coolant, and then we're done over here, and then we just have to do that side, transmission, EGT probe, like all that stuff. Instead of doing gauges, we're doing a CTS2 as well. All right, so before I pop this trans in, I'm gonna go over a couple of things. We got the bottom sensor put on under there, and the other sensor, and then we ran that guy. You guys can see it ends right there in the middle of the screen. So that will run to the filters. We just put new oil, new filter. By the way, that oil filter, the old AMS oil filter, I had to use a tool on it because it was that screwed tight. Hand tight, guys, and pop some oil on the seal. Intake is on. Unfortunately, it was creased from before. I did try to fix it. Nothing I can pretty much do about that. Yeah, I think that's it for up here. We did start filling the coolant. He got me 3 gallons. Unfortunately, it's not enough. I also came over here and I scotch braided the shaft and I put grease on the ball. I don't usually put grease on the ball, but I put grease on the ball because he asked me to. And then I greased that up as well after scotch braiding it and brake cleaning it. So she's all good to go. I'm gonna start popping this thing in, and then once this is in, we're gonna do the hydraulics. And I'm not gonna do the coolers yet. I'll open those up when the time comes. Then we gotta do the transfer case. He did get me a seal, but unfortunately, I'm just gonna throw that in the pile of parts because we're not gonna use the OEM seal because we have the Gear Vendors Overdrive up here. So Josh said he wants to come at 7 in the morning. So unfortunately, I might just be here all night to get all this stuff done. All right, so this trans wasn't as much of a shit show as they usually are. I have it held up with a strap right now, but I kind of just manhandled this one. Jack in the front, strap in the back. I did keep supporting it with boards in case it were to fall, because as you can see, it does have case damage, and they definitely repaired it. You can see it on the inside as well, but it's not a big deal. These things are, yeah, there's no way to replace the bell housings on these, so they just fix them. All the bolts are in, even that one, yes, even the top bolt up top. I don't know if I can zoom in on it, but all 8 bolts are in. So next step is getting the cross member in and then disassembling the transfer case so that we can start putting the secondary housing for the Gear Vendors Overdrive. And then there's a little spacer thing that goes on the inside. So they do have instructions, all that. Yeah, this guy, I believe this guy right here. So, and it only goes on one way. Pretty sure this is the transfer case side, and then this is the Gear Vendors side. So that's the easy part. Installing it is the easy part. Like, this thing is not bad. Not bad to install at all. It's the wiring and all the other fun stuff. All right, so we got all 3 nuts on the bottom. Now, keep in mind, I have all this stuff memorized. You guys see every one of these bolts in here. You can pick one of these out and I can tell you exactly where they go. So you see how this one has the small washer? There is 3 of these that have a big washer that go on the bottom of the transmission mount. So I found those, but if you guys ever bring me stuff, please don't, like, I know that I have it memorized, but like, please don't throw all the bolts just in one miscellaneous thing. Generally, when I tear something apart, I put everything back. Now, we got the old stock clutch hydraulics out. I was under the impression that it had a dual disc prior, and I was wrong. But stock hydraulics are out. Unfortunately, you cannot reuse the neutral safety switch. Believe me, I tried. See how small that hole is? Doesn't exactly fit on there. So we're gonna throw that back in the scrap pile and start installing this. When you guys do this, keep in mind there is a little plastic clip that goes up into the plastic clutch pedal. Yes, that's right, Dodge uses a plastic clutch pedal. And then we're gonna take a clip and short those 2 pins right there, so that way we can use the neutral safety switch, like, just completely immobilizes it. All right, we have bad news. I found the nuts. Found the nuts for the clutch hydraulics, but there's no studs for it. There weren't in the transmission. I'm assuming, since the nuts are here, the old transmission had them. It's not a big deal though. I went and found bolts because I have a ton of extra bolts and a bolt bin and just multiple bolt bins and all of the bolt bins. So here's where we're at. Mind you, we're not done yet. I'm gonna route it and everything, but we have bolts. I'm gonna route that all nicely once all the wiring and the 4-wheel drive and all that stuff. Probably gonna utilize that hole right there for that. But you can see if you just leave it flopping, it's gonna hit the front drive shaft, starter, and all the other shit. So we are slowly making progress. I think The next step is just putting the clutch pedal in, and then we can start throwing the transfer case on. It's about like 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30-ish. Told Josh, he said he was gonna be here at 7. We were gonna go do the scrap run, but I don't think he's gonna now. All right, it's about 5 in the morning. We got the gear vendors and we got the adapter piece in. And I'm gonna show you guys how I did the brake switch. So basically what I'm gonna tell you to do is just take off the old connector and somehow splice it together. I just used a female connector and just sent it, and that's pretty much how she looks. So that's how she looks. Clean, and we don't have to cut the factory harness. And if he ever wants to go back to factory, all he's got to do, which I don't know why you would, but go get the factory hydraulics, and we will have to mount this, and there is wiring in the way, but usually let's get that out of there. Yeah, usually we mount her like somewhere like right around there. There's some self tappers in there, make her look pretty, but I'm gonna leave that set aside. All right, so we are doing the shims right now. I know you guys probably saw that. Anyone who's installed these before, actually. You guys were probably yelling in the comment section, no, don't do that, don't do that. Don't worry, that's not supposed to sit flush. We are doing the surface now, which is kind of a pain in the ass with one hand. It says put the gasket in place, and then we have our straight edge, and we need to measure in between, oh, I forget what it was like 0.05 and 0.19. All right, so we only used, I'll show you actually. Come on. We only used the one big shim as required, and then none of the small shims actually got used, and we are within spec. So that's awesome. There we go. So I'm gonna put some grease in here, and we'll call it good. I'm actually gonna unscrew all that. Here's the moment y'all been waiting for. So we got everything in. Like I said, shimmed correctly. I did put grease on the opposite side as the instructions state. We're gonna start opening this bad boy, and I'll show you what we got inside. Hopefully they gave me the right things, because it does say right here, ensure overdrive is fully seated before first nuts are tightened. Secure overdrive assembly using 8/4 28-inch top lock nuts and washers. If you strip them, it even has instructions on if you strip the nuts. Basically it says double nut it if you do end up stripping it. All right guys, there it is, Gear Vendors Overdrive. I know a lot of you guys were interested in it, but this housing only goes on one way. If you put it on any other way, actually two bolts will not line up. So I had to spin it the whole way around to finally find the top. So if you guys are doing it to make it easy, that right there, that little NO thing right there, that sits basically where you see it. So don't make the same mistake I did. It's just kind of a pain in the ass to find it. So they specifically state no silicone between these two, so I did not use silicone. And I am going to put the gasket here, no silicone. I'm going to install this thing. By the way, I just want to let you guys know, this is the first transfer case in my life that I have manhandled in here. I am on the ground and I manhandled this thing up in there. No jack, no ratchet straps, no nothing, just literally brute force. What I did was like I flipped it up on this side so that it was like standing straight up, and then I just picked it up, got it on the input shaft, and then rotated it up and sent it. So I just need to put the front drive shaft on, plug some sensors in, but I wanted to get this at least on for the video so that I could take drive shaft measurements so I can get a quote on a drive shaft for him sooner than later. Well, we have a Gear Vendors Overdrive. We have all the nuts and washers on. Now the last thing to do is put this little drive shaft piece on. I know, ignore the shit quality. There should be. Well, I guess there's not. I guess there is. Guess we'll find it. Just gotta go through and feel for it. See, there's a double notch up there. So there we go. There we go. Now we just got to take our measurements from there to there, and we are going to be doing a one piece. Obviously, if we did a carrier bearing, it would make it so much more expensive, and it would just be completely stupid to do that because it's so much shorter. My opinion of the Gear Vendor's Overdrive unit, I don't trust a unit that's like, that's a lot of leverage in my opinion on the back of the trans all the way out, and then this here, like that's what holds this unit on. I don't know. It's definitely not for me. Everything is dry. I'm gonna have to fill everything. We do have a transmission cooler that I have to install as well. Get that out of the way. I'm gonna leave everything under here because I'm about done for the night. It's almost 7 o'clock in the morning, but we're gonna have to find a place for the cooler. It's gonna basically go somewhere around here and mount on the frame somewhere, which in hindsight, this isn't a bad spot, but at the same time, we could have utilized that spot, so I don't know. Might utilize somewhere in here. I'm not sure yet. We will figure something out. But there's your Gear Vendor's Overdrive. So, that was fun. We definitely got a bunch of shit done tonight. You guys can see the sunlight is starting to come out, so go grab. Got to bring the Dakota in, quick do an oil change before I leave, but that's gonna do it for the night. Hope you guys enjoyed my misery. I'm gonna get the big door open, go bring the Dakota in, do the quick oil change, and get the fuck out of here.